Illinois and Indiana are two important Midwestern states which physically share a lot in common. But, socially, both states have taken different trajectories. Let's compare these two in the latest State Comparison Series episode. Both Illinois and Indiana share unique and intricate histories. Illinois, located in the heart of the Midwest, has a rich history shaped by its central location and diverse landscapes. Before European colonization, the area was home to Native American civilizations, including the Mississippian culture, known for their impressive city of Cahokia near present-day St. Louis. French explorers Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet arrived in 1673, marking the beginning of European influence. Illinois became part of the United States through the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 and achieved statehood in 1818. Its strategic position as a transportation hub, enhanced by the construction of canals and railroads, fueled rapid growth. Chicago, founded in 1833, became a major economic and cultural center, further propelling the state's prominence. Over time, Illinois played pivotal roles in the Civil War, the Industrial Revolution, and the Civil Rights Movement, cementing its place as a cornerstone of American history. Indiana, nestled in the Midwest, has a history deeply connected to its geography and the role as a crossroads of America. Before European settlement, the region was inhabited by Native American tribes, including the Miami and Potawatomi. French explorers arrived in the 17th century, establishing trading posts and claiming the area as part of New France. Indiana became part of the United States through the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 and achieved statehood in 1816. Its central location made it a key transportation corridor with canals, railroads, and later highways fostering development. Agriculture and manufacturing drove its economy in the 19th and early 20th centuries, while cities like Indianapolis emerged as cultural and economic centers. Indiana's contributions to the Civil War, industrial growth, and Midwestern identity solidified its role in shaping the nation's history. In today's episode, we are going to compare the geographies of Illinois and Indiana. The video will focus on both physical geography and human geography. In terms of physical geography, we will review three main factors: geomorphology, meteorology, and ecology, while with human geography, we will review four main factors: the demography, urbanization, economy, and geopolitics. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home, if you enjoy learning about our Earth. Let's get started. Let's start with physical geography. Geomorphologically, both Illinois and Indiana share a lot of similarities. Like much of the Midwest, Illinois is relatively flat, with mostly rolling hills and some rugged lands in higher areas. The state's highest peak is Charles Mound, measuring 1,235 feet, which is the sixth lowest highest elevation of the 50 states. Although Illinois doesn't border any oceans, it does have a marine border with Lake Michigan, of which much of the Chicago metropolitan area is on. In the southern part of the state lies the lowest elevation, near Cairo, measuring 279 feet. Indiana is very similar to Illinois in geomorphology, as it's also a pretty flat Midwestern state. Much of the state has flat lands and rolling hills, and the highest elevation is Hoosier Hill at an elevation of 1,257 feet, the seventh lowest highest elevation of the 50 states. Northern Indiana has a long marine border with Lake Michigan, but the lowest elevation is at the confluence of the Wabash and Ohio rivers, measuring 320 feet. Meteorologically, Illinois and Indiana are very similar in that both states have humid continental climates featuring hot and humid summers and cold and snowy winters. Like much of the Midwest, both states experience all four seasons and are susceptible to temperature fluctuations, especially during the fall and the spring, and during those months, the temperature clashes can trigger severe weather, making severe thunderstorms and tornadoes common occurrences. Since Illinois and Indiana stretch several latitudes, the northern areas feature colder and snowier winters than the southern areas. The Chicago area averages around 40 inches of snow a year, but areas of northern Indiana, which are windward of Lake Michigan, get copious amounts of lake effect snow, with some communities such as Michigan City getting over 50 inches a year. Ecologically, Illinois and Indiana are so much alike that they can be explained together. Both states are dominated by fertile prairies and farmland, remnants of the tallgrass prairie ecosystem that once covered much of the region. Forested areas such as Indiana's Hoosier National Forest and Illinois' Shawnee National Forest showcase diverse plant and animal species, including oak hickory woodlands and migratory birds. Wetlands and river valleys, like the Wabash and Illinois rivers, are vital habitats for aquatic life and waterfowl. However, human activity, especially agriculture and urbanization, has significantly altered the landscape, leaving pockets of preserved natural areas that highlight the region's ecological heritage. On the human geography, let's start with demography. As of 2024, Illinois has a total population of 12,710,158 people, a 0.8% decrease from 2020, making it one of the only 3 states that saw a loss, with the other 2 being West Virginia and Mississippi. A historical contributing factor to this is deindustrialization over the last 50 years, but some recent factors include high taxation, a high cost of living, overregulation of businesses, and crime and a lack of prosecutions, especially in Chicago. Racially, Illinois is a majority white state, but has a diverse population. 58.3% of the population is white, but Hispanics and blacks make up the largest minority groups with 18.2% and 13.9% respectively, and Asians make up nearly 6% of the population. Ethnically, Germans, Mexicans, and Irish make up the largest ancestry groups. Indiana's 2024 population is 6,924,275, a 2% increase from 2020. Like Illinois and other Rust Belt states, Indiana hasn't grown as quickly in the last few decades as southern and western states due to deindustrialization and outsourcing. Racially, Indiana is a majority white state with 75.1%, and blacks and Hispanics make up the largest minority groups at 9.4% and 8.2%, followed by Asians at 2.5%. Ethnically, Germans make up the largest ancestral group, followed by English and Irish. Urbanization patterns in Illinois and Indiana are differentiated. By far, Chicago is Illinois' largest city and the United States' 3rd largest city with around 2.7 million people. The city grew due to railroad expansion across America, the meatpacking industry, and rapid industrialization, which drew European immigrants to work there. Today, 75% of Illinois' population lives in Chicago and the surrounding metropolitan area. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in population are Aurora, Joliet, and Naperville, which are all part of the Chicago metropolitan area. Springfield, Illinois' capital, is ranked 7th in population with just over 114,000 residents. Much of southern Illinois is rural and sparsely populated, apart from metropolitan St. Louis. In terms of transportation, Illinois is traversed by multiple interstates, U.S., and state highways. Some notable interstates include I-90, I-80, I-70, I-39, I-55, I-94, and I-74. Illinois is also home to Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, which is the 9th busiest airport in the world. Indiana's largest city is Indianapolis, also the capital, with a little over 879,000 residents. The city's metropolitan area population is 2.1 million, which represents around 30% of Indiana's population. Indianapolis is also extremely centralized, making the city accessible to all parts of Indiana. Rounding out the top 5 cities in population are Fort Wayne, Evansville in southern Indiana, South Bend, and Carmel, a suburb of Indianapolis. Gary, in northwestern Indiana adjacent to Illinois, was the state's 2nd largest city in 1960 when it had 178,000 residents, But because of significant deindustrialization, the city today is ranked 11th with 69,000. Indiana, being a centrally located Midwestern state, has many highways that run through it, including I-90 and I-80, also known as the Indiana Toll Road, I-70, I-65, and I-74. The economies of both Illinois and Indiana are very diversified today. Illinois state GDP is $1.1 trillion, and the state has a per capita income of around $90,000 a year. Illinois boasts one of the most diverse and dynamic economies in the United States. Anchored by Chicago, a global financial hub, the state's economy thrives on industries like manufacturing, agriculture, technology, and logistics. Illinois is a national leader in corn and soybean production, supported by its fertile soils and robust farming traditions. At the same time, its urban centers drive innovation, with Chicago housing the Chicago Board of Trade and the Federal Reserve Bank, making it a key player in global markets. The state also benefits from a strategic location with major rail, road, and waterway networks facilitating trade and commerce. However, Illinois faces challenges such as high taxes, fiscal imbalances, and population outflows, which continue to shape its economic landscape. Despite these issues, Illinois remains an economic powerhouse in the Midwest, blending agricultural roots with urban innovation. Companies headquartered in Illinois include McDonald's, one of the largest fast food chains in the world, Abbott Laboratories, a major player in healthcare and medical devices, Walgreens Boots Alliance, a leader in retail pharmacy, and Allstate, one of the largest insurance providers in the U.S. Indiana has a state GDP of $495 billion and a per capita income of around $72,000 a year. Indiana's economy is a robust blend of manufacturing, agriculture, logistics, and technology. Known as the Crossroads of America, Indiana's central location and extensive transportation networks make it a logistics hub with major interstates, railways, and ports connecting the state to the national and global markets. Manufacturing plays a pivotal role, particularly in automotive production, with companies like Subaru, Honda, and Toyota operating major facilities in the state. Indiana is also a leading producer of steel, cement, and pharmaceuticals, contributing significantly to the national economy. Agriculture remains vital, with corn and soybeans being top crops, alongside a strong livestock industry. Additionally, the state has seen growth in the tech sector, particularly in Indianapolis, earning the city a reputation as a burgeoning tech hub. With low business taxes and a focus on infrastructure development, Indiana continues to attract investment and maintain its position as a key economic player in the Midwest. Companies headquartered in Indiana include Eli Lilly and Company, a global leader in pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, Simon Property Group, a major real estate company specializing in shopping mall management, Cummins Incorporated, a maker of engines and power generation products, and Steel Dynamics, one of the largest steel producers and metal recyclers in the United States. Geopolitically, both Illinois and Indiana evolved similarly, but in the last couple of decades, both states have taken different trajectories. Illinois' first presidential election was the 1820 election, when the state gave its electoral votes to the lone Democratic-Republican candidate, James Monroe. Then in the very next election in 1824, the state gave its electoral votes to Democratic-Republican candidate Andrew Jackson, and then to him again in 1828, when he won running as a Democrat. Through the middle part of the 1800s, Illinois remained staunchly Democratic in presidential elections, but then in 1860, it gave its electoral votes to resident winning candidate and Republican Abraham Lincoln, who also ran against Democrat Stephen Douglas, who was also from Illinois. Through the rest of the 1800s, Illinois voted mostly for Republican candidates, but this slowly started to change in the 1900s when the state started going back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. The 1988 election was the last time Illinois gave its electoral college votes to a Republican, and since then, the state has become a safe Democrat stronghold. This is likely due to the Chicago metropolitan area having a majority of the state's population, and typically, urbanites vote blue. In the U.S. Senate, Illinois has 2 Democratic senators, Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, and in the House of Representatives, 14 Democrats and 3 Republicans. On the state level, Illinois has a Democratic governor, J.D. Pritzker, who was elected in 2018 and re-elected in 2022. Indiana's first presidential election was in 1816, when the state gave its electoral votes to Democratic Republican candidate James Monroe, and then again in 1820 when he ran alone. During the mid-1800s, Indiana did give its electoral votes to mostly Democrats, with the exception of 1836 and 1840, when the state voted for Whig candidate William Henry Harrison. Then in 1860, like Illinois, Indiana gave its electoral votes to winning Republican candidate Abraham Lincoln, and again in 1864. Indiana voted similarly to Illinois during the late 1800s and 1900s, as the state started to vote back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. But by the late 1900s, Indiana started to lean more red. A lone exception was in the 2008 election, when the state gave its electoral votes to winning Democratic candidate Barack Obama, but the margin between him and Republican John McCain was less than 1%. Since then, Indiana has become a safe red state, as the margins between Republicans and Democrats have become wider each election. In the U.S. Senate, Indiana has 2 Republican senators, Todd Young and Jim Banks, and in the House of Representatives, 7 Republicans and 2 Democrats. On the state level, Indiana has a Republican governor, Mike Braun, who was elected in 2024 after being a U.S. Senator for the state since 2019. Illinois and Indiana exemplify the diversity and complexity of the American Midwest. While they share similar physical landscapes, including flat terrains, rolling hills, and humid continental climates, their human geography tells a story of divergence. Illinois, with its bustling metropolis of Chicago, embodies economic diversity and urban vibrancy, yet grapples with challenges like population decline and fiscal issues. In contrast, Indiana, marked by its centrality and manufacturing proudness, maintains a steady growth trajectory, bolstered by its low taxes and strategic location. Politically, these states stand on opposite sides of the spectrum, reflecting the broader regional and national trends that shape their identities. By exploring their similarities and differences, we gain a deeper appreciation of how geography, history, and human decisions converge to define these 2 iconic states. That concludes this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you enjoy learning about the Earth, you'll love my channel. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home, to view more interesting videos. Until next time!